Imagine this. You're standing in a room buzzing with conversation, laughter echoing off the walls. People lean in, sharing stories, nodding in agreement, their faces animated masks of engagement. Yet you feel a strange detachment, as if watching a play from behind a thick pane of glass. The words exchanged seem like pre-written scripts, the laughter a recorded track played on cue. You look around, a silent question forming in your mind. Why? Why this frantic dance of conformity? Why does everyone strive so hard to echo one another, to dissolve into the collective hum, terrified of striking a dissonant note? Have you ever felt that the relentless pursuit of fitting in is a game with rules you never agreed to, played on a board you didn't choose? What if the reality you perceive, the one where connection seems paramount, is built upon a foundation far more fragile, far more deceptive than you've ever dared to admit? Could it be that the feeling of being out of place isn't a flaw in you, but a crack, revealing the hollowness of the stage itself? As Napoleon Bonaparte once grimly observed, solitude is the price of greatness. But what if it's more than just the price? What if it's the very condition for seeing the world and yourself with terrifying clarity? What unseen truth lurks beneath the surface of our shared social performance, waiting for the moment you stop playing along? This sense of disconnection, this glimpse behind the curtain of social performance, isn't mere cynicism. It's an echo of a profound philosophical observation. Arthur Schopenhauer, the often dubbed philosopher of pessimism, saw this societal charade with brutal, unflinching clarity. He argued that most people live trapped in a vast, intricate farce. They dress, behave, and speak not from an authentic inner core, but according to how they believe they should, dictated by the invisible gaze of the other. It's not their true nature guiding their actions, but a relentless, almost programmed drive to seek acceptance, to secure validation from a very crowd they secretly feel alienated from. But acceptance from whom? Schopenhauer compels us to ask this uncomfortable question. Acceptance from those who are equally lost in the performance, from those who police the boundaries of the acceptable, ensuring no one strays too far from the script. He posited a stark conflict. Intelligence and a vibrant social life are often fundamentally at odds. The more perceptive you are, the more acutely you recognize the inconsistencies, the hidden motivations, the sheer absurdity of the social game. This isn't arrogance, it's the burden of clarity. It's seeing the masks for what they are. Thin veneers, hiding fear, insecurity, and a desperate need to belong, even if belonging means sacrificing the self. You begin to notice, as Schopenhauer did, that much of what passes for social interaction is noise, designed to distract from the deeper, often unsettling truths of existence. And the cost of playing this game, of constantly seeking external validation, is devastatingly high, though often unseen. How many times have you endured soul-draining conversations, nodding politely while your mind screams for escape, simply to avoid the label of rude or antisocial? How often have you forced laughter at a joke that landed flat, a small betrayal of your own sense of humor? Consider the sheer energy expended in maintaining the facade, in calculating responses, in performing agreeability. Schopenhauer might argue that every social interaction becomes a transaction, where you trade fragments of your authentic self, your time, your attention, your genuine thoughts, for the fleeting currency of belonging. You give away pieces of your soul in exchange for not being alone. But the company you keep is often just a collection of other carefully constructed masks. Society, in many ways, isn't designed to make you think. It's designed to keep you entertained, distracted by a constant stream of stimuli. The endless scroll, the trivial chatter, The manufactured outrage. Thinking too much, seeing too clearly, becomes dangerous. It leads you to notice the incoherence, the vast chasm between proclaimed values and actual behavior. You begin to recognize that most relationships hover at the surface, afraid of depth, and that the relentless effort to fit in isn't just tiring. It's a profound form of self-sabotage, a slow erosion of the very essence of who you are. The loneliness you feel isn't just from being different. It's the dawning, terrifying realization of the hollowness surrounding you. But what if this pain, this awareness of the farce, is not the end of the story, but the beginning of a rebellion? What if the loneliness, initially felt as a punishment for nonconformity, could be transmuted into something else, entirely a privilege? This is the radical shift in perspective that thinkers like Schopenhauer, and perhaps even Nietzsche or Jung in their own ways, hinted at. It requires challenging the deeply ingrained belief that happiness lies solely in external connection and validation. Think of the great minds throughout history. The Da Vinci's immersed in their work, the Teslas driven by singular obsession, the Nietzsches withdrawing to find clarity. They weren't necessarily antisocial in the conventional sense, but they understood the immense value of their inner world and refused to dilute it with constant, meaningless external noise. They recognized that true creation, deep thought, and authentic self-discovery often happen not in the crowd, but in the sanctuary of solitude. This isn't about rejecting all human contact. It's about reclaiming your agency, about consciously choosing when, how, and with whom you engage, rather than being swept along by obligation or the fear of missing out. It's about valuing your own time, your own thoughts, your own inner landscape, more than the fleeting approval of others. This is the difference between isolation, a painful state of unwanted separation, and solitude, a chosen state of powerful self-possession. Breaking free means giving yourself permission to step away from the noise, to find peace not in the echo chamber of agreement, but in the quiet resonance of your own being. It's realizing that you don't need to perform to exist. And here lies the most profound, most unsettling, and ultimately most empowering secret of all. The less you desperately need the acceptance of others, the more magnetic you become. It's a brutal paradox. When you stop chasing validation, when you cease performing for an audience, something fundamental shifts within you. People notice. They sense an authenticity, a self-possession that is incredibly rare and deeply intriguing. They see you're not desperate to fit in, that your sense of self doesn't crumble if you're not invited to the party or if your opinions diverge from the norm. This confuses and often intimidates those still trapped in the cycle of seeking approval, because your very existence becomes a silent challenge to the bubble they inhabit. You become an enigma, someone operating by a different set of rules. The irony, the ultimate twist Schopenhauer might appreciate, is that the less you care about social validation, the more genuine power you wield over your own life, and strangely, the more compelling you become to those capable of recognizing true substance. True freedom isn't hedonistic license to do whatever you want without consequence. It's the liberation that comes from not needing anyone's approval to define your worth or direct your path. It's the terrifying, exhilarating ability to be alone in complete silence, without feeling anxiety, without the compulsive need to fill the void with external distractions. If you cannot do that, you are not truly free. You are, as Schopenhauer might say, a prisoner of noise, a slave to the opinions of others. He understood that superior intelligence, the kind that sees through the societal game, is destined for solitude, not as a curse, but as an advantage. It's in that chosen solitude that you can finally build something worthwhile, something real. What happens to those who never grasp this? They remain trapped, mistaking the echo for the voice, forever seeking outside what can only be found within. The great minds, the true revolutionaries, the individuals who leave a mark, were never merely social creatures. They were masters of their own inner silence. They dared to step away from the noise. Now, the question isn't whether society is a farce, but whether you have the courage to accept that truth and live accordingly. Because once you truly see it, there's no turning back. You can no longer unknow. The trivial becomes unbearable, the superficial intolerable. You can try to pretend, to go back to participating in the farce, adapting to the mold imposed upon you. Or you can embrace the discomfort, accept that you may never be understood by the majority, and stop betraying yourself just to fit in. You can start living for you, not for others. In the end, there are those who adapt and those who find themselves. The majority chooses the first path. It's easier, safer. But the few who choose the second, those who embrace the solitude, are the ones who discover what it truly means to live. So tell me, which path will you choose?